Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And welcome to Forgotten Cinema, now showing. Each episode, we highlight a brand new release. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or perhaps don't love about it, but don't take our word for it. Go see the movie for yourself. So let's get into it. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. After robbing the Federal Exchange, I thought I'd live an easy life, but I just got that itch, man. I got that itch for crime. So I started robbing other things. Robbed a diamond from the mob. Like a European mob. I didn't realize I did, but whatever, it happens. And I actually just stole those diamonds to get into the diamond exchange in Nice, France, to rob even more diamonds and get even richer, because it's all for the thrill of the hunt. But that damn cop from LA, he's not too busy snorting coke to come after me, and he's eating croissants, smoking cigarettes, and doing some drugs and teaming up with me to do this robbery. It's
Big
crazy.
Nick O'Brien on the
Big
case.
Nick.
That's right. Mike and I went and caught the sequel to Den of Thieves, called Den of Thieves Pantera. Sometimes it's called Den of Thieves 2 Pantera, but I think we're going to call it Den of Thieves Pantera since that was the title in the film. So we were actually we did this for the main show, which is probably going to come out in a couple weeks, maybe like 4 or 5 weeks, right?
It's going to be a while.
It's part of.
We didn't do it as a lead
yeah.
up. Yeah, we did it as part of our regular show.
Right. And then we both were kind of Mike had never seen the first Den of Thieves before, and I liked it, and I was hoping that Mike liked this first one. He did, so we were kind of looking forward to this watch, we did that the other day, and we're gonna get into it a little bit. But Mike, I guess, did you have high expectations for this film going in? I'm curious. When we walk into that theater, like, were you like, this better be good, or was it like, I hope this is good? Like, what were your expectations?
No, I mean, I had just seen Den of Thieves, so I wasn't sitting on, I really love Den of Thieves 1. Like, I enjoyed our watch, but I hadn't, it was only a couple of weeks ago we watched it for me. So for both of us, you for the second time. Sequels sometimes are hit or miss. Gerard Butler makes a lot of movies that we talked about on the main show. A lot of his movies he's been making now, like, they seem like they're not going to be great. And then there's always something in them that elevates them a little bit past, like, direct to DVD, or, hey, let's rush this movie out in February just to have a movie out for February. There's always a little bit more to it. But I wasn't really expecting much because I don't know what they needed to add to the story of the first movie. Like, I didn't know why they needed to do a sequel, which is apparently just the first of what they hope to be many.
Good.
But, I still enjoyed it. I have issues with it. I don't think it's as good as the first film.
It's a completely different film, I think.
It's very different. It is very different. For good or bad. I don't know if I cast judgment on it either way there, but it is different. So I didn't really have that many high hopes, and it was a decent watch. A little long, but it wasn't too bad. I just didn't have like great expectations, and I think that's maybe for the best going into this movie, because I think if you have expectations, like we just said, it's a little different than the first one. So your expectations might not be met if you have expectations coming from the first film.
Right. It's a little bit of a continuation from the first movie in regards that Big Nick is still after. I totally blanked on his name. It's good stuff, Mike. Oh, it's after Donnie. He keeps calling him Fräulein, but he's after Donnie, who you find out, if you haven't seen the first one, stop listening to us, because we're going to talk about the first one. Go watch it. But
it's a big spoiler, yeah.
Yeah, and the first one, he finds out like Donnie was the mastermind, and so he's kind of still after him. So this is almost a little bit of I don't want to say character piece, but it's more focused on Big Nick's hunt for Donnie, almost like Big Nick after his white whale kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas the first film is basically the good guys and the bad guys. Those lines are blurred clearly, because you find out like the cops are live in the gray, and the bad guys, the thieves, are kind of doing this for certain reasons for their family that they think they have no choice kind of thing. But
right.
So it's almost like that movie at its end you're waiting for them to come together and fight and just kind of like fight it out, shoot it out, whatever it is. So I think that payoff is in the first one. But this one is more of a heist film. This one is more of a robbery, the classic heist. Touches in heist films where you have, betrayal, and you have, the actual heist, which is probably a good, what would you say? It was like 30 minutes of the film when they're doing it. Yeah.
20-25. Yeah. It's a decent chunk of the movie.
Right. So, it was definitely a much different movie, which I think works in its favor for a sequel, because you don't want to see a repeat of the first film. You want to see a continuation with the characters, but you want to see something different.
Right.
And I think that probably why this movie is 144 minutes, it's 2 hours and 24. So they have to set up that world a little bit. You have to set up some of the people, the new people, because we only know 2 people coming in from the first film. So we already know them, but we have to get to know everyone else now. So I think that's probably why it's a long time. I actually, I liked this film quite a bit. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to compare the two. I think they're 2 different films. What were some of the, you mentioned that you had some things, some issues or some stuff that bothered you. Why don't we talk about maybe where you thought the film, fell apart for you, or there was lacking in terms of your watch?
I thought it was a little long. I feel like the length it does kind of drag. You want to get to the heist. And in terms of character piece, like I don't care about anybody but Donnie and Big Nick. So that was kind of like, okay. Like the 2 guys that didn't like Donnie and they go off and do their own thing. I get that the payoffs are at the end when the Pantera mob actually saves them. But I don't know if I needed that. Like, I don't know if they could have done something different without those 2 guys. And like, that was like an extra storyline I didn't need. Oh, that's her ex, and Big Nick is like macking on, what's her face? What's her name? Giovanna. Yeah. I don't know if I needed that extra storyline. I didn't feel like it added anything to it. So those are mostly my issues, were like those 2 characters, and like I assume we never really got a good reason, but I assume it's racism. They didn't like the black guy running the show because they're kind of racist Eastern Europeans. Because they didn't really give us a better, they just suddenly hate him. So you kind of get the feeling it's because he's like black.
That's probably accurate. Yeah.
While Nick and Donnie stuff was good, I feel like stuff involving the other characters kind of started to veer a little too fast and furious for me, a little bit too much, like, which is kind of the heist movies kind of toe the line at like how your relationship with the other people in the heist group are, and like we're family, and just like when Giovanna says to Big Nick, "Oh, I thought you were going to marry me up," and like stuff like that. Or just like
wife me up, right?
Wife me up. Yeah. It's just like, there's some cringy lines there. I felt like the ending, although I kind of like it, it's also the exact ending to the 4th Fast and Furious film when Paul Walker breaks Vin Diesel out of the bus. The prison bus he's on. It's like the exact same ending. It's like, well, what are we going to do now? Where they're also going to heist things up. So, and I get that they're setting up a franchise, but they're setting it up a little bit too on the nose of Fast and Furious there.
See, I think this is that's fine, but I view this as a little bit of a not smarter, but
oh sure, the movie as a whole. I'm just saying those moments.
Yeah.
Those moments felt Fast and Furious. The movie itself is not. It's a much more serious, focused, kind of a realistic, gritty take on heist films for sure. It is not a Fast and Furious film.
I didn't realize.
I felt like those moments were kind of like me.
I didn't realize that this movie was based on a real event, the 2003 Antwerp heist, the diamond heist that happened. Yeah. So it's let's see. So dubbed the heist of the century, it was the largest diamond heist in history. They stole diamonds, gold, silver, and jewelry, more than $100 million at Antwerp, Belgium. The same kind of the vault house of diamonds, 2 floors below the main floor, the same stuff. They kind of like the same stuff. Infrared. They got past a lock with 100 million possible combinations, and infrared heat detectors, seismic sensor, Doppler radar, and a magnetic field. So it's like a huge. So that was based on that.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Which, yeah. I thought that was, very interesting. I think the difference also with kind of the Donnie character, which is played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. Like in the first film, it's kind of, they have that reveal. He's kind of pretending he's pretending he's somebody he's not, and then you find out he's the mastermind.
He's just the driver. Yeah,
right. It's interesting because they don't do that in this film. It's just he's coming in, and yes, he's playing a role in the diamond exchange. Jean-Jacques, as he's called, but you don't ever see. There's no wool being pulled upon anybody's eyes here. It's more along the lines of a heist movie where he's the ringleader, and you're working with the only kind of up in the air kind of question is whether Big Nick is really on their side or not.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting too. I think my biggest takeaway is that it's just different from the first one, which I appreciate, which I know I've already said already, so I don't want to keep harping on that. I agree with you about the two bad guys that kind of left the team, and then they show up like at the end later, and they're kind of killed unceremoniously you only see them through the windshield getting shot up. So it's not like our guys, our main protags took care of it.
Right.
I do agree with you there. They're a ticking clock. That's why they're there. They're just kind of, you knew I knew the whole time they were going to pop up at some point after the robbery.
Yeah. Cause they're on the rooftop waiting for them. So, they're watching to try to re-rob them.
And they knew the route out. They knew they knew the route out of the city, that there was only one way for them to go, which was up the mountains. Yeah. Because there's no cameras up there. So you knew that was where they were going to stop them. And you kind of almost like, you kind of don't understand how Donnie or Big Nick or anybody didn't really kind of think about that. You don't think that that's not in their mind. Like, wait a minute.
They should have been taken care of. Like, oh, we got some loose ends. We got to make sure get taken out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also Donnie's downfall is he doesn't like Merriweather in the first one would have thought of that. But Donnie's more about the heist. Donnie's not about, shooting and killing and violence. Donnie's just about, I want to steal all this stuff and get the stuff. So I feel like, at least in the first one, I feel like he needed someone like Merriweather to kind of check him on that kind of stuff, which is what Nick should have kind of been like, hey, these two guys, that's unfinished business. We got to take care of it. You think Nick would know at least to do that? Yeah,
they play the whole Big Nick stuff where they almost play it too close to the chest of whether he's good or bad. Whereas at the point where you're just like, he's got to be playing a angle here. There's no way there's no way he's really turning bad. Even when he sees the cop at church, and they have that conversation. I was surprised that they didn't do something. I was surprised that they didn't kind of do like flashbacks where Big Nick is reporting to them like what's happening throughout the process of planning this case. I was surprised they didn't do that. So like we're just to assume that he's followed. They're being followed or something like that.
I don't think Nick really knew if he was, like he says to Donnie at the end, like he didn't know until the end either if he was on their side or not. I feel like it was always up in the air. Am I going to cross the line or am I going to stick with the law? I feel like maybe it wasn't until the church meeting with the cop where he was like, all right, I think I have to do the right thing. Because I think he didn't know what he was going to do until like the last second.
Well, but they had to have tracked him to that restaurant where they arrested them all. So, even whenever it happens in the movie or whenever it happens in the story, I'm just surprised they never had a flashback to it to show that scene or that moment.
I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been a heist trope, and I'm okay with that.
The whole movie's a heist trope.
That's true. Putting gelato on the thermal. Though that's the one part like that bothered me when. Well, I think you were even confused why the concierge goes back to lock up after he locked up.
That makes
no sense. He doesn't do
sense.
anything but check the exact same things he was already checking when he locked up the first time.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
When the gelato drips on him, he doesn't look up. And that bothered me when I was watching the movie.
Was that
you just got dripped on? Look up. That's what I assumed. He's looking around and wondering what dripped on him, and he just goes, shit. All right, I'll walk away.
Well, I thought that because the sensor that he's covering, the infrared sensor, was on the wall.
It was on the wall, yeah, not the ceiling.
Not above. The ceiling was where he sprayed the.
Oh, is that what dripped on him though?
It
looks like something dripped on him.
I don't know. And then the other thing was there was no like when they go and do the heist, it was just like, oh, they're doing it. It's happening now. Like there was no like tonight's tonight. Like there wasn't like I wasn't prepared that this was the heist.
I like that because it's like neither was Big Nick at the like. What is it? When is it going down? Right now. Like right freaking now. And then boom, he's in there about to put the diamonds away. Although it's the day before. The other thing that bothered me, which is a really small thing, is the whole time they're talking about the Monaco game, and Chava, the lady who I guess is a big wig in the Diamond Exchange. I don't remember exactly what her thing is. Are you going to the game on Saturday? Are you going on the game on Saturday?
Well, she's not in on it, right? Is she in on it?
No, but she doesn't care that the diamonds are stolen. She finds that GPS and she just kills it and be like, whatever. Because she even says like everyone here is a crook or whatever.
Right,
like,
right.
You're gonna get the money you're gonna get. But when she's like, are you going to the game? You're going to the game? I saved you guys a table. She doesn't save him a table. It's a spot at this tiny little crappy bar. She's just like it's on a bar stool. And it's like, you didn't save anybody a table. Stop telling people it's a table.
Well, in that scene too, when they throw out the GPS and then the dealer is talking to her in Hebrew, he tells her to shortchange him.
Well, he says that if it's stolen, you're just going to get, from it would be 8, but now it's 4.7 or something.
Yeah.
He couldn't do less than 5. And she's like, no, you're going to get this.
Yeah, that was a little tough to follow. I think also because I'm expecting the Donnie from the first show. So I'm expecting there's an angle being played that I don't know yet, but then that's not happening. So the only angle is the heist. That it's just the heist.
I feel like that's because Donnie is really front and center, almost the main character in this one.
Yeah. There is no connection to the end of the first film and this film. Correct. Because he's in London in the first film, right?
In the end of the first film, he's bought a bar in London that he's running.
Right.
And all his buddies are there.
But he's across the street from a diamond exchange or something like that.
He is. He's across the street from another diamond exchange. Yeah. And I think that's just kind of like maybe where they got the idea.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think there's any connection. So you have to assume since he's like, I can't stop it. Stealing. He did steal from them and moved on to another place and another place. Because who knows how long it's been since we've met him the last. I don't know if they say how long it's been. It couldn't be that long, though, because he's still going. Big Nick's
did he say
going
6
through
years?
divorce.
Didn't Nick say 6 years?
Oh, did he?
I thought so. I thought there was a year count put in there.
Took him 6 years to get divorced. Wow.
Well, let me ask you. Well, it takes a while. Maybe he was fighting it. No, you're right. Maybe because he signs the papers in the first film. Remember, he goes over to the house. And
he does, and he makes a big thing. Yeah.
I don't know. Then who knows?
Unless that's just his child custody hearing because he wanted more time with his kids.
Oh, maybe
it wasn't really divorce. But they also don't explain what Nick is anymore. Is he a cop? But he seems to be buddy with the FBI guy now. Well, he's having a meeting. So
right, I believe he still is a cop. And he has jurisdiction overseas because he's a marshal.
No, he's faking. He was marshaled once for a different. He was marshaled once for a different case, but he's no longer a marshal. But he still has the badge, which is why he's getting his FBI buddy. Yeah, when somebody asks if I'm a marshal, when I'm going to give him your name, you tell him I'm still a marshal. And the FBI guy, who's all of a sudden his friend after the first movie, is just like, yeah, all right.
Well,
but it doesn't explain what he is. I just don't understand what he is and why he's living out of his truck. And like, I don't know. It's very confusing as to where Nick is in his life other than losing his kids, his custody of his kids. It's like, you don't know what's going on because he only lost one of his team. So is he no longer with the strike force? Is that like not happening anymore?
Well, what about Donnie's team? They were celebrating at the end of the first film. What happened to them? You know what I mean? Like, where's that team?
You'd think that would be a throwaway line where it's just like, yeah, they all got their money in there, And
honestly, but quite honestly, we probably don't need it. If we treat these movies as chapters in a book, not chapters in a book, but like kind of like Indiana Jones adventures,
separate
adventures, same characters that carry over maybe once or twice, maybe another one pops up in the third one, like you said, something like that. I think if you treat it like that, then, I think we're conditioned way too much now with world building where we expect a continuation of the last film. For in a series. Well, we don't need that. We don't need to have that. They can be like volumes or just kind of different, different adventures in people's in the characters' lives. So I think that's fine.
I would have liked to have known more about Nick. I just don't. It just kind of confused me at the beginning where I didn't understand where he was at at the very beginning of the film in terms of professionally. Because I obviously we had also talked about like the trailer almost lies to you and gives you kind of alternate takes with his first meeting with Donnie, where it seems like he's not a cop anymore, you know, blah, blah, blah. I want to do this robbery because I'm sick of being the hunter, which he does kind of say in a different way in that conversation.
But it's set up like it's not like he just shows up. Like there's like been like 45 minutes of Nick in family court. Nick talking to his trying to still on the hunt for Donnie. He knows he's overseas. He's going over there, and then he everything is on the up. You think you're led to believe that everything's on the up and up when he walks into that police station in France, and he wants to see the tape, and he sees the tape, and he says, "Oh, that's not him." And then all of a sudden you're like, "Okay, so what's happening now?" And then all out right from there, it gets very confusing in terms of like who is lying to who and whatnot. And that's probably obviously on purpose and whatnot, whether that it's successful or not in terms of the storytelling. I guess that just depends on if you like it or not, if you're okay with that. Sometimes
because I think they build up Nick to be such an ambiguous, like he's definitely a little less, even though he's working for the bad guy, the quote unquote bad guys, he's definitely more like clean cut in this film, I think, than he was in the last one. Like they really toned down how much of an absolute asshole he is in this film as opposed to the first film, because he's a mess in the first film.
Yeah.
And in this one, I think he's a little bit more put together, a little bit more of the good guy, even if he is teaming up with the thieves and stuff like that, less of a loose cannon. Mm-hmm. But you still are presented with a character, even if you've never watched the first film, who's enough on the edge where you don't know which way he's going to go. From the very beginning, you just don't know the guy. And I think that really helps, because in most heist films, you're just waiting. Like, obviously, there's a shoe still dropped in this, but you're waiting for a shoe that's, I think, a different shoe that in this film and the first film, it really plays with heist films in a really good way. That's like, it's not like, although I love the first Ocean's film, it's not like the Ocean's film where they really play with tropes. This film is definitely against heist tropes.
Yeah. And in the first movie from this film, you don't really see that twist coming. That's just kind of like, you don't expect that at all. You don't expect that Donnie is the one that set everything up.
Oh, yeah.
You just like, oh, these guys are going at it. They're fighting. Oh, wait, Donnie's gone. Oh, the money's gone. What the hell's happening? But in this one, I think you're waiting. I think because everything's played out in front of you, you're kind of waiting, like you said, for that shoe to drop. You're waiting for like, okay, what is it? What am I not seeing? Generally, I enjoyed the film. I didn't mind the length. And maybe if I watched it again, maybe I would probably maybe not like the length. Maybe you know what I mean? Because when you first watch a movie, for me, you're seeing everything for the first time. And right. It's interesting because they did a good job enough for me where I was interested in everything that was happening. Whereas when we watched Nosferatu, because I knew already the story, I was like, come on, let's get to it. Like I was feeling like it was dragging a little bit.
Oh, 100% at the beginning. Yeah.
But if I watch this movie again, Den of Thieves, Pantera, I wonder if I would have that same thing, because I know already the story. I've seen it. So I wonder if I would catch like, okay, we don't need that scene. This is dragging. So I'm curious if that would feel the same way. And I think the stuff that we were talking about before with the two bad guys that left and like, oh, they're going to show up again, and we don't really know their backstory a little bit, and then a lot of the other stuff with Giovanna and stuff like that. Like, we're talking now that this is going to be a 3-hour film because we're talking about adding stuff in. You know,
I'm okay cutting them completely.
No, I know that.
At least the two guys, maybe not Giovanna, but yeah.
Right. We haven't even talked about you talked briefly about the mob, but we haven't talked about the whole Italian angle, the Italian mafia angle. They stole that. We talked about The Rock a little bit, but I feel like they're in there just to set up the next film. Or to set up like the next story,
for sure, and to give some more like to give more stakes to the heist. Mm-hmm. It's not just about getting rich; it's about not dying. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I would have liked a little bit more moments of like more sinister moments from them, because they set up, and then when they first finally get to Donnie and Big Nick, they just kind of throw him in the water. And then you just you don't get like, there's no moment where there's like that horse head in the bed. You know what I mean? Like that moment where you're just like, oh man, these guys really don't mess around. You get Nick going. Nick says, these guys go after families. But you don't get a sense of how hardcore they are. And maybe they're waiting for the third one to get that. But I would have liked something that added a little bit more, like made it more intense, because that way when they kill the two guys and they go face to face with Donnie and Big Nick, I'm like, oh, they're taking them out, or there's going to be another shootout. And I'm a little bit more surprised when they just kind of hand over. But in this case, because they're kind of soft to them, it's just kind of like, all right, I handed them the keys. All right, they're good.
There were two moments in this film where Nick basically says, Donnie, I'm out. That's it. I'm out. No way. There's no way. And
right back in.
Scene, but there's no scene where he's like, he needs to be talked back in, or he's like, I changed my mind. It's just, he's back. He's like, I think like the first time when they fight, I can't remember whenever it was. And the next thing you know, he's at his apartment and they're all talking about the plan. It's like, okay, so now you're back in, you didn't quit. That happens twice. So I guess maybe that's their relationship. He blows up and then he shows up again. So I don't know.
I don't know. Well, did you want like a synth soundtrack as Nick watches the sunset?
Yeah.
And
Why
decides,
not?
I'd have been back in. I'd have been right.
Yeah, works for Miami Vice. Why can't we do it here? How do you think this movie's gonna do? Like,
the first weekend it did make at the higher end of its projections, 15.7, 15.8. You said it's a 40 million movie. Mm-hmm. The movie takes place overseas. Gerard Butler does decent overseas. I could see it making its money back within its theatrical release. And then, I have no idea how home video does anymore. We don't really track those because we look at the older films when we look at home video.
Every once in a while,
everything's streaming or rentals, or you get those first digital rentals where they're $30 and then they're streaming. So like, I don't know. I assume it'll do well. I don't know how big a star O'Shea Jackson Jr. really is at the moment. I think he's really good though. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. He's definitely not just like a Nepo baby skating by. He's a good actor.
Well, I mean, one of his major roles was playing his dad, but yeah,
true,
I get you.
First big ones. Yeah. And then, Gerard Butler, like we talked about it off air, always surprises. He's always like, you don't think his movie's going to do that well. And then it does well. And not only does it do well, the reviews come out and go, oh my God, I thought this was going to be a stinker. And it's actually not terrible.
Gerard Butler has that charisma and to carry those type of movies through. Like, it's not like you're not getting like Don Swayze in there or Frank Stallone. You're getting somebody that like knows that genre and he knows that market. I mean, I don't know I can't remember if you saw Plane or not.
No, I still got to see Plane, but I remember the reviews were like, I was expecting nothing of this movie and it ended up being actually not bad.
Yeah, no, he's a solid actor in anything he's in. And I think it's just a testament to him as a professional and just like what he's doing. So,
absolutely.
And O'Shea Jackson's good in this. And I think I sent you this. I mean, I like him in Long Shot quite a bit, and he's really good in Straight Outta Compton, where they kind of reference that to just, we laughed. I think, did you laugh because
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I always remember it was like, I think it was a couple weeks ago for Christmas, he watched Die Hard for the first time and he started live tweeting it.
Yeah.
And he was live tweeting it and he's like, all right, I'm watching Die Hard for the first time. And his reactions were pretty much everybody's reactions when they first watched the movie. So it was just like, cause he loved it. He was like, oh my God, he's doing, no shoes. Like, it's just like, it's really cool to see like somebody react to a movie that you watched 30, 40 years ago, right? And like have that same reaction. So it's like, you're all coming from a good place. So no, I was a fan. I'm a fan of everybody in this film. I like this movie. If I don't get DVDs anymore, don't get Blu-rays anymore. I don't know why. I just don't go out and get them. I think because I just don't I'm trying to save money. But if I would probably buy this on Blu-ray, try to get the first one on Blu-ray and just kind of like watch them at home. Cause I think it's got enough cool stuff in there to watch and enjoy. I know I would think I'm maybe a little higher on this than you are. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
I would definitely watch it again. If I saw them both for cheap, I would buy both again. My issue with the movie and maybe watching it a second time, I wouldn't find it too long because I know the heist is going to end up being 25 minutes of the movie, which is nice. Like, I just feel like I just felt the first time it was a little too long because I want that heist. And I feel like in the first Den of Thieves, you get a little bit more like mini heists before the big heist. And this film didn't give me that. So I feel like that's what I was waiting for. The first film was definitely more action.
Mhm.
And in this film, like you said, it's definitely a straight up, this is a heist movie.
Yeah, like we said in the beginning, it's two different films. Yep.
I would 100% watch this again. My only other thing, which isn't really a complaint, but both films are yellow and hot. And so I would like the third film to be maybe like blue tinted and in the winter, like just change up, like don't be such a warm movie all the time. I feel like that's another like Fast and Furious trope in terms of having a franchise where it's always warm. Like go rob like a castle up in like Eastern Europe or something like that. Let's get like a completely different location for the next film.
Right. Well, let me. How about this? So, would you like to see the character of Big Nick in another movie franchise? And what movie franchise would you like to see him in?
Like if it crossed over with a different universe?
They were just like, oh, we want you in this for some reason.
I think he'd be great in Fast and Furious. But you'd have to make him like Den of Thieves 1 Big Nick. Make him super dirty. Make him super just like, oh, I hate this guy. But he's after, Vin and crew as they're doing a heist or whatever. I don't even know. I haven't seen the last one. I don't know if they're good guys, bad guys, secret agents anymore.
You have to see the last one because it is
the reason I want to see it is because of how bad and ridiculous you say Jason Momoa is.
It's the whole thing is just there's stuff in there that like I'm just like, why? It's not. I can't honestly. I don't even remember any of the dialogue. I just remember like the ending scene. I remember everyone talks about when he jumps, he does a stupid jump in the air. I don't care about that. But like the scene where they're driving down the steps, I think that's in Italy because they're trying to stop the bomb. And like, it's so CGI, it's so digital and it's just so dumb. It's just not good. So you should watch it.
I mean, I watched all the other ones. Why I gotta watch
exactly.
the 10th.
You have to. I mean, the next one's coming out, so you gotta whatever that is.
the final Fast and Furious.
Yeah. All right. Did you have anything else you want to add with this film, or just?
No. I mean, where do you think it's going? Where do you think? How do you think Nick and Donnie get back together? Do you think Nick actually goes bad for the next one, or do you think Donnie ends up going good? Because I think that's the only way the two of them get together in the next one. Donnie has to work for the cops, or Nick's got to actually kind of turn.
It might be something where like Donnie is in trouble with his new boss, or he's being asked to do something that he doesn't want to do, or he's being framed or set up for something, and Nick has to get him out of this, and Nick has to, kind of extricate himself from this relationship now that he is in with this mafia guy.
Right.
Donnie always says like, I just steal because I want to be able to try to do it. He doesn't ever want to hurt anybody. He's not about that. So right, yeah. I think that's kind of something that he gets caught up in, something that somebody gets hurt and he's getting blamed. Maybe Nick has to help him in that regard. I don't know if you need to do it overseas again. Maybe it's back in the States. So maybe you can have the some of the other team members or whatever come do it. I don't copy what you did here though. Don't do the whole thing like, is he bad, is he not bad? If you're gonna put him on the same side, put him on the same side.
Right.
Yeah. So but I'm sure they already have ideas, and if it's based on something real, because like this film was based on a true story, so that'd be cool too. But something like that, and I'm sure they've already got something figured out, so I'm sure I've even the action that happens in this film, I'm cool with. I like the shootout from the cars. That was very cool. Very visceral, very loud, and very. I'm pretty sure those were real muzzle flashes and real guns being fired off. If not, then it looked great. Otherwise, but yeah. So I've never been disappointed with the action in both of these films, and the heist was pretty cool too. The heist was interesting, so I enjoy that. So I enjoy the heist has to be good in a heist film. It has to be interesting. So right. I thought that was cool too. So yeah, that's what I think.
I agree. I agree with you with the Donnie being forced to do something that he's not comfortable with. There's definitely going to be something to do with it. Yeah,
they have to be on the same side either way, without the twist of I'm going to turn you in or I'm going to set you up. Yeah, it has to be like we're partners, we're teammates. Let's do this. Let's get yourself. Let's get you out of here. Whoever's helping whoever's in trouble and needs the help, kind of thing.
Right.
I think that has to be something like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens in a couple of years when it comes out. We're on season 28.
28 will be on season 30 something.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, Mike, where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to us or watching us right now. Drop a like, a rating, subscribe. Tell us what you think about this movie. What's your favorite Gerard Butler movie? All that kind of good stuff. And if you want to support us further, we have our Patreon where you can get early access to shows. You get exclusive episodes, our lead up series, which is a timed exclusive, or our look back series where we're currently doing The Things. The 3 Thing movies, starting with the original 1957 film, then the John Carpenter one, and then the 2011 remake. Or you can go to our merch store and get some merch. However you want to support us, even by just watching or listening, you're helping us out. So thank you.
Yeah, and our main show has a new episode every Wednesday. We're currently in season 19, wrapping up, and then season 20 is coming. We're in the middle of recording season 20 now. So we're usually ahead of the game. We try to be 10 episodes ahead, but I think we're at 7 or 8 right now because of just days off and time off and stuff like that. So main show every Wednesday. Our next now showing is actually going to be next week. We're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to watch a new movie on streaming. We're going to watch the Jamie Foxx,
Cameron Diaz.
Jeez, Cameron Diaz film Back in Action. So I just want to see. I wanted to do a film that was available for people to watch, like easily, as in terms of like, they don't have to go to the theater. So see how it does, and then in February we're doing our next couple now showings. In February we're going to be doing Captain America: Brave New World. Can't wait for that garbage disaster. And then
Harrison Ford's in that. You watch your mouth.
Listen, I'll be in the theater. And then in March, we're going to do Ryan Coogler's new film, Sinners, with Michael B. Jordan. So that's going to be our next couple now showing episodes. And so we're, drop us a line. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know if you like what we said and don't like it. It's cool. Film is subjective. So, we're not always right. We're not always wrong. That's all I got, man. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema, now showing. Oh, what are we watching? Den of Thieves, Pantera.